is my son. Tell him a little about yourself, sir.
All right, so my name is Dixon. I'm an intern here. I've been here for a short bit, so you probably don't know that. Something cool about me, I'm going to take it all the way back to 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, y'all, because elementary was fun, right, y'all?
That's where everything important happens in
elementary
life,
was fun.
right? Middle school, yeah. So tell us about it. What you got?
So I watched this movie called Aquila and the Bee. Have y'all heard of that movie, y'all?
Yeah? No? Maybe?
So I was super, super pumped and trying to join a spelling bee.
How many of you guys did spelling bees growing up? Okay, how many of you guys were awful like me? Like K-A-T, instead of C-A-T? Okay, anyways.
So I joined a spelling bee, and I thought I was going to win. I thought I was going to go to state or even the nationals and stuff like that.
Yeah, be on ESPN? Yeah.
But
you spell
it didn't
words.
happen. For 3 straight years, guys, I got 3rd place. Literally the same exact place every year. So the second year that I joined the spelling bee, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with getting 3rd place. Like, I literally said that, and that's what I told my parents too. So, dude.
So you got 3rd place 3 years in a row.
3 years in a row.
So we are in the presence of spelling greatness. Okay. So I mean, you guys should
autographs
recognize
after
now.
this, guys.
Now let's be honest. Hey, we actually do have spelling royalty in our midst, though. We have a Felker over here who's actually one step away from actually going to ESPN and being on the national tournament. So he is going to be in the regional tournament. So holler back on that. But anyways, if you don't know, because some people don't know, I wasn't joking about him being my son. He actually came to be a part of my family about 4 years ago now, and it's just been an incredible privilege to have someone who looks so much like me in my family.
It's the hair.
It's definitely the hair. But for real, I just love his passion, his joy. Like he's just got one of those smiles that when you walk in, if you're having a bad day, he knows how to flip it around. And most of all, I love the way that he loves Jesus and loves us because of that. And so I'm really excited that we get to share tonight together as we kick off this brand new series called I Got Next. And I got to ask you a question. Have you ever had one of those moments in your life where you're like, I'm not sure if I have what it takes? I had one of those moments my junior year of high school. See, through 7th grade through 10th grade, I had been the starting quarterback of our really terrible football team. What? And you know what? When you're on a really terrible football team, if you do really terrible, it doesn't matter because everybody's terrible. But then my coach came to me my junior year and said, hey, you're going to be the starting quarterback of the varsity team. And it was actually a pretty great team. And I got to tell you, outwardly, I was like, cool. Inwardly, I was like freaking out because I was so worried I was going to let my team down. I was so worried that I didn't have what it took. Literally the whole week before the first game, I felt like I was going to throw up every day because my stomach was in knots and how nervous I was. Well, I remember my coach pulling me aside after our last practice before our first game and saying, Nate, how you doing? And have you ever had one of those moments where what you said didn't match up at all with what everything else in your body was doing? You know what I'm saying? Where I was trying to communicate, yeah, I'm cool, I'm calm, I'm collected, but like apparently my facial expression sent the message, I'm gonna die! You know what I'm saying? Like it was clear to him I was not okay, even though I was saying I was okay. And I got to tell you, those moments have happened all throughout my life. Like, am I really going to be able to graduate from high school? Am I going to be able to get a job? Am I going to be able to be a good dad? Am I going to be able to make it through this conflict? Am I going to make a difference in this world? Like, over and over again, just feeling like, I don't know. I don't know if I have what it takes. Dixon, have you ever had a moment like that for you?
Yeah, I've actually felt that these past few weeks, y'all. So a few weeks ago, Jack told me in our meeting, he said that you're going to be speaking a sermon with Nate. So I literally did this. I was like, awesome. That's so cool. But deep inside, I was terrified. I was so scared. I was like, you know what? Am I qualified to do this? Can I actually get on stage and preach the gospel in front of all these people? I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I could do this, but that's not true. I know that's not true, but I felt that. And that's what I believed in that moment, just like you.
Yeah, so I think we all deal with this question, like, do I have what it takes to do something with my life? Especially when it comes to following Jesus, where, like we're supposed to, as Christians, be like Jesus. Does anyone ever feel overwhelmed by that fact? Like, wait, I'm supposed to reflect Jesus? Like, I'm supposed to bring his love and his justice and his hope and his eternal life to other people? Like, that's so big. And here's what I want you to hear. In this series, we are going to talk. We are going to discover some perspective from God that I think can bring us clarity and confidence and strength. That when the moment comes for you to step up, you can step up and go, I got next. I can do this. I can be who God called me to be. Because you know it comes from God's strength. And you know what? That's the thing. If I go back to my story where, I was like, I'm going to die. And my coach, right after that, he said, you know what, Nate? I believe in you. And I'm going to guide you, and the team is with you. So just trust that we're with you and do what you can. And the truth was, it ended up becoming this incredible season. We were so close to going to state, and so much of it was because he spoke confidence into me that helped me find confidence I didn't know I had. And here's what I want you to hear tonight. That's the way it works with God. God created you. God has gifted you. God wants to empower you and guide you every step of the way to do remarkable things. He has confidence in you. We're going to be talking about this concept the entire series. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And so if you're just willing to step in and say, okay, God, I'm willing, it's remarkable what he can do through you. So the next couple of weeks, we're going to be looking at some people who followed some pretty legit people. Like that person that's like this crazy, amazing leader, and you wonder, like, who could ever step up into his shoes, right? But we're going to look at how some of those people followed those amazing people and what we can learn from how God interacted with them. And specifically, we're going to look at this dude named Elisha, okay? Now, his mentor, his dude that he was following for a lot of years, his name was Elijah. So we have Elisha and Elijah. Could that be more confusing? You know what I'm saying? So like Elijah and then like Elisha, like that's what we're going to work with here. But, okay, listen, this Elijah dude, he was like the GOAT of prophets back then. Like I'm the GOAT. I'm the greatest of all time when it comes to basketball in my family. Just ask Dixon. Lies. He knows. He's got no skills compared to me. Okay, that's a total lie. Okay. But Elijah was the man, okay? Listen to his resume. Not only did he speak the direct words of God, but y'all, he did miracles. He did 7 major miracles. One of them being that he prayed for like a couple years that it wouldn't rain. And then when he prayed again for it to rain, it did, okay? That would be really handy as a weatherman. He resurrected from the dead a widow's son. At one moment, this evil king sent some horses and chariots to kill him, and he hit turbo boost and outran all of them somehow through the power of God. And he turned into the Flash. This was like a miracle. And then there was this one moment he took off his cloak, apparently, and he got mad at this river. I don't know. And then he slapped this river, and it split for him to walk on dry land. This dude was next level. He was a big deal. But people started to wonder, who's going to follow him when he's gone? Who's going to be the next prophet? I mean, who could fill Elijah's shoes? Well, that's where God had a plan through Elisha. And I want you to see their first interaction because it's pretty interesting. In 1 Kings 19:15-21, it says, the Lord said to him, go back the way you came and go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel, and anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, sounds like I swore, from Abel Malo to succeed you as prophet. I love these words. They're making me feel special. So Elijah went from there and found Elisha, and he was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him, threw his cloak around him. So get this moment. Elijah, the man, walks into town. And he walks up to Elisha, he takes off his cloak and puts it on him. Now that seems really weird to us, but to them, that was a sign of saying, you got next. What God called me to, God is now calling you to. This would have been mind-blowing because Elisha totally would have known who Elijah was. He would have been totally intimidated by this moment, thinking, wait, did God just call me to what he does? Wow. But listen, hey, everybody eyes up here. Listen. When Jesus died on the cross and he rose from the dead, he extends an invitation to every single one of you to be forgiven, to be loved, to be brought into the family of God. And here's the thing, listen, to have such a mission and such a purpose in life that is equal to what Elijah was experiencing. Listen, God has a calling on you to make a difference in our world. And I want you to hear the description that if you choose to follow Jesus, 1 Peter 2:9 says this about you. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. In other words, you are the place where people are going to meet God. Through you, God's going to show the world who he is. It goes on, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Y'all, God has put a calling on your life to reflect Jesus, to help people see Jesus, feel Jesus, experience Jesus through your words, through your actions. You have a calling on your life. You are called. And listen, you are called to be like the one who turned the world upside down. You are called to be the one who calls people out of darkness into light because Jesus defeated death. Each one of us has this unique calling. We're all called to be like Jesus, but then we're all going to express it in our own unique way, in different jobs, in different ways. But listen, you have a calling. Yeah, you middle school student. Yeah, you high school student. Yeah, you that person that said you were never going to amount to anything. God says, oh no, through Jesus, I have a calling on your life. Does that excite anybody else? Does that excite anybody else that God's got a calling on your life? Listen, so many of you are walking around, me? No, I'm not going to amount to anything. And God says, no, yes, I want to lead you. Now, how do we respond to a call like that? Well, Elisha gives us a perfect example. It says this, verse 20. Elisha then left his oxen, ran after Elijah, because like Elijah just dropped his cloak on him and then like just kept walking. It's like, wait, come back here, man. Like he runs him down, right? And then he says, hey, let me kiss my father and mother goodbye, and then I will come to you. And then Elijah says kind of weirdly, go back. What have I done to you? What he's trying to say is, hey, realize this. God called you, not me. So whatever God says is cool, you go do. It goes on. So Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out to follow Elijah and became his servant. Y'all, I know this is a little weird, but you got to understand what just happened here. Okay, Elijah was a rich dude. Do you know how I know? Because it said he had 12 pairs of oxen. 12 times 2 is like a lot. And so he had lots of oxen. And he was only driving one pair, which means he had employees, which means he had land, which means he was like the CEO of a company, which meant he was in charge, y'all. He had money, he had comfort, he had wealth, he had status, but then God calls him. And he lays it all down. He says, I'll lay anything down so I can follow God. To the point where he burns the plows. He slaughters the oxen to throw this huge party, and then he goes to do what? Not to be all that. He goes to be a servant. See, here's the thing. If you want to live into your calling, many of you are like, yeah, Nate, you tell me God has called me to great things, but why does my life feel like it's nothing? Because so many of you have missed this, that if you're going to live into your calling, you got to be willing to give up control. You still want to be in control. And you're wondering why your life isn't moving forward. Because it doesn't work that way. Elisha's life was transformed because he gave God control. Here's the thing. We get so apathetic and straight up lazy in our relationship with God. Because we believe the lie that following God should be easy. It should always make me feel good. It shouldn't require any sacrifice. And if it does hit any one of those things, we bail on God. And this reveals something inside of you that is going to cripple you if you don't get a hold of it. Something that needs to change about us. And I want to let Dixon kind of explain that to us tonight.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this idea of process. We hate the process. We hate that word. Like that word just doesn't go with what we feel. So many athletes use the phrase, you got to trust the process. And that means that they're either in a valley, they're working hard to get somewhere, or they're trash, but they're not really trash, y'all. Everyone can get good. So the P word, process, doesn't mean it's going to be a bad thing. So we don't like the process because it doesn't give us this instant gratification that we want to feel in that moment. So the thing that we really want to do, we want to blow up by doing the least amount of work possible. So we see this on things like Instagram, Snapchat. especially on TikTok. And I'm not knocking TikTok people. I love TikTok. I love the renegade dance. I'm trying to learn it, but it's really hard. But that doesn't matter.
Want to see me try.
Don't do it. So in reality, that's not how life works, guys. We can't just do nothing and expect greatness, y'all. Because most of the time, even the path of social media takes time. It takes process. It's a process of trials and errors, just like anything else it takes to be great at. So in verse 20, it shows Elijah dropping his entire life for the call of God. Y'all, so Elijah was human. He was just like you and me. So I can imagine when he left his parents, he left his wealth, he left the comfort, his comfortable life. It was hard for him. I believe it wasn't easy for him. So there's one point I want you to write down is Elijah sacrificed his temporary comforts for his greater calling. And that's so true. Like we are called to sacrifice in life just like Elijah did too to reach our greater calling. He was willing to go through the process. 18 years of serving Elijah, doing his work, y'all.
18 years. That's a long time.
18 years is a long time.
That's a long time.
Yes, so he was doing whatever he was needed. He was being humbled. And I'm sure Elijah asked Elijah a million questions because he knew that he alone couldn't get ready to be a prophet like Elijah was and step in his shoes. That was hard. I know that was really hard for him. So the difference between Elisha and us is that we want the promise without the process. And that's not possible. We can't get the promise without the process. We got to work hard at it. So we want this promise of an abundant life, full of life with God, without being willing to go through the hard work. But that's not realistic. So you can't have one thing without the other. And think about it this way. If we look at the lives of the greats, Kobe, LeBron, or Stephen Curry, they put in so much work to reach the level of competition that they are at right now. They are the greatest right now. And the thing is, we can't go to that level, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Do those things without work, guys. And this really cool video that I want to show y'all really quick. It's this guy named Jay Williams. He's talking about Kobe and his hard work. So y'all check this out real quick.
Enforcement.
In this video is that the first thing I want you to remember is that Kobe went hard to chase after being great. He worked really hard. Multiple athletes can tell you that he did everything that he could do to be the best at his sport. The second thing I want y'all to remember is that you'll never get better unless you're willing to put in the time. It takes time to be good. It takes time to perfect your craft. And the third thing I want you to remember is that basketball is very similar to the game of life. And there's going to be ups and downs. It's not always going to be easy, and there are going to be challenges, but if you keep trying, you will overcome. You will persevere. So now, Kobe did all of this, all that work for this game of basketball, but we are called to do things for the glory of God. We are called to do something different than he did and put in a different type of work. So one of the big things that we need to see is that following God takes work, perseverance, it takes drive, and it takes focus. Just like anything else we do great in life, we will have to keep at it and keep pursuing and keep persevering. And in James 1:2-3, it states that the trials and tribulations produces perseverance. And out of those trials, you will grow into maturity and you will grow into character. So it's saying that the hard things will make you stronger. And that strength in God will help you persevere. So to experience the promises of God, you got to go through the process with God. You have to be willing to act because, as it says in James 2:17, it says, faith without action is dead. Faith without action is dead. So we see clearly that Elijah was willing to go through the process to receive the promise. And towards the end of Elijah's time on earth, God told him that he was going to take him to heaven, ascend in heaven. And Elijah talked to Elisha and he asked, hey, what do you want? And this is how he answers. So when they came to the other side, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken away. And Elisha replied, please let me inherit a double share of your spirit to become your successor. You have asked a difficult thing, Elijah replied. If you see me when I am taken away from you, then you will get your request. But if not, then you won't. As they were walking along talking, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared, drawn by horses of fire. It drove between the two men, separating them. And Elijah was carried away by a whirlwind into heaven. Elijah saw it and cried out, my father, I see the chariots and charioteers of Israel. And as they disappeared from sight, Elijah tore his clothes in distress. Elijah picked up Elijah's cloak, which had fallen when he was taken up. Then Elijah returned to the bank of the Jordan River, and he struck the water with Elijah's cloak and cried out, where is the Lord, the God of Elijah? Then the river divided, and Elijah went across.
Anybody else be like, what just happened, right? Okay, like chariot of fire, whirlwind, think tornado, like blowing Elisha away that he tears his clothes. He's like, I don't know what just happened, but this is crazy, right? But I love, he says, what do you want from me? And his response is, I want a double portion of what you have. Now, I need you to understand, this wasn't him being arrogant. This wasn't him saying, I'm going to be so much better than you, Elijah. No, this is him spending years with Elijah, understanding the only way I can do the great things that you did is if I have the power of God like you've had it. You know, back in the day, when a father was about to pass away, they would go to their oldest, which Gary is, Dixon's my oldest, and would look at him and say, hey, I'm going to give you a double portion of all the inheritance, of all that I have. And a lot of people go, that's unfair. Why does he get a double portion? Because he's going to take my responsibility, my role in the family on his shoulders. He's going to bear that weight, and so he needs that blessing to be able to bear that weight. And that's what Elijah was saying is, I understand the calling on me is huge. I need your power. I need the power of God so that I can go and do what you've done. Y'all, listen. You need to cry out for the power of God. Listen, you need the power of God to live the calling of God. You need to wake up every single morning and say, God, I need your power to be like Jesus so that I can shine like Jesus. God, when was the last time you woke up in the morning and you said, God, would you give me the power to love deeper than I have ever loved before so people can see you? When was the last time you got up in the morning and you cried out to God, God, put within me wisdom and kindness to treat others the way you've treated me? When was the last time you prayed, God, give me your power to have the self-control to overcome this thing that I'm struggling with? so that I can actually change and point other people to how they can find your power and change. Y'all, that power is available to you and to me, but we got to cry out for it. Why? Because every day we got to remember we can't do this without God. We can't live the power in the calling of God without the power of God. It's a dependence. It's a relationship. And Elisha got it because he cried out. He was clear. I need the double portion. And God moved. God answered that request. If we go back, we see this crazy moment out of an action movie. The chariot of fire, the whirlwind, the tornado, the sky ripped open, Elijah going into heaven, and then this cloak comes down. And why don't you talk a little bit about why that's important for us to see?
Okay, yeah. So the Bible says when the chariot of fire split the two apart and carried Elijah to heaven, that his mantle, his cloak, fell down. So this cloak represents something so much bigger than we realize. This cloak represents God's calling on both Elijah's and Elisha's life. So Elijah sees his cloak fall from his mentor Elijah when he left, and he did something exceptional. The cloak fell, and it started something big. Elijah picked up the cloak, and then he struck the water, and then it split into two. So this is a moment where Elijah stepped up, y'all. So when Elijah picked up the cloak, he stepped up. So our next point is you must step up. We must step up. Because it's not enough to say we want to do the big things for God, but it's when the moment actually comes, we have to be ready and prepared. Because when the time comes, our job is to be ready for the responsibility that God gives us. We have to be courageous and bold in the calling that God has for every single one of us. So when I was in high school, I was a senior, and I was a part of the Bridge. There was this program called the Leadership, and that's what I was a part of. And pretty much they taught us how to spread the gospel amongst our peers. So I was all for that. I thought it was really cool learning about it, but I didn't really want to do it because I was scared. I didn't want to step up, and I didn't want to talk to people about God because I don't know if they're going to judge me or if they're going to think I'm weird or anything like that. So there was this one day I was in my Spanish class, and there was this guy. He knew me. He knew I was a Christian. He was like, hey, what does it mean to be a Christian? And then my heart started beating. I was scared. I'm a sweater. So I was like checking my underarms. I was like, am I good? I don't know. But I sweat, so I'm sorry, guys. But he asked me, what does it mean to be a Christian? And I told him that it means to believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins and my sins, and that he rose from the grave. And then my friend just looked at me with a blank stare at first, but then he said, oh, cool, dude, that's awesome. And he was like, tell me about your life. So I told him about my life, and I told him about how important God is in my life. And the thing is, if I wasn't brave enough, if I didn't step up, he wouldn't know who Jesus is because now he is a believer. So I think that is awesome. I think that's amazing that we stepped up. So the point is that in the small moments and in the big moments, it's important that we take action.
Yeah, and just real quick, for Chris and I, many of you guys know, we talked last week about how we feel like God is calling us to take a huge step and to help plant a church like Doxology in a place that needs it. And, y'all, we prayed for months about this. And we prayed for God to give us clarity, for God to make it clear, because we didn't want to go, because we love it here, because this is one of the best places I've ever been in my life because of so many of you. And so there was nothing in us. It's like, we got to get out of here. It was like, God, if you want us to go, we'll go. But we can't imagine leaving here. But God just kept putting the pieces together. And God kept saying, because of what I placed in you, I'm going to do something through you and those who go. You need to go. And it was clear, and we had to decide in that moment, were we going to step up or were we going to step back? Because we had prayed for him to make it clear, and he did. And now it's our turn to go. And so we need you to understand this. You got to pray for the power. You got to step up into it. But here's what we have experienced and hope you'll experience is this. Your season of ordinary is preparation for God's season of extraordinary. Your season of ordinary is the preparation for God's season of extraordinary. As you accept that you are called by God, you got a mission in life. And as you go through the process of growing in God so you can experience all that he has for you, as you depend on his power to step up, you're going to see extraordinary things you didn't expect. Because you're just going to school, right? You're just doing your day-to-day life. It seems mundane. It seems like no big deal, but then you have that moment where a kid asks you a question and you share the honest truth with them, and then his whole eternity changes. Y'all, that is a life worth lived. Even though it may have felt mundane, it became extraordinary. And so my prayer is tonight that you would see you got a calling on your life, but I also pray that you would understand right now, for many of you, the reason you're not experiencing it is because you got stuff holding you back. Elisha didn't let anything hold him back, but you have. I have. And we got to ask God tonight, what is holding me back from living the life that you've called me to? And you know what? I wanted Dixon to be able to share from his world as we close here, because I think maybe for you, it can help you understand what that looks like.
Yeah, so by my senior year of high school, I knew I was called to be more like Jesus, just like we all are. But specifically for me, I knew I was called to be a pastor and lead people and shepherd people. But the thing is, I denied it so many times, countless times for 2 years. I strayed away from my calling because I felt like I knew what was better for me more than God did. And boy, was I wrong. For 2 years, I was held down by my own bondages, by my own issues and sin. And I was stuck. I was held down by things like the desire to want money. I wasn't rich growing up. I was actually really poor. And I wanted that Range Rover or G-Wagon or those shoes, those really nice shoes. I wanted all of that, but the thing is, I didn't think being a pastor would give me that life or the desire for comfort. I don't like stepping out and feeling uncomfortable sometimes. I really don't like it sometimes. Me stepping out and giving people my time, my effort, makes me feel uncomfortable, and I'm sure some of you guys feel that way too. Or the desire for entertainment. Y'all, I would much rather stay on Instagram, TikTok, or Netflix or Hulu. I love The Bachelor, just saying. I would much rather watch that than read my Bible, and to be serious, that's not a good thing, but that's what I feel. Or the desire to be accepted. I want to be accepted by everybody that I love. My family, my friends, my girlfriends. I want to be accepted by them. I want to be invited to the parties. I want to be invited by everybody, but the thing is, it's not true. And then we're like stuck. We're stuck in these bondages, and it's too late for us to even get out. And then we try ourselves to get out, but we really can't because we need help. We need someone else. And then in that moment, that's when I realized that I can't do it alone. I need God. I need Jesus. In that moment, I say to myself that it's no longer about me anymore. It's about you. I'm done living for myself. I'm done living for the money. I'm done living for the comfort, the acceptance, and even the entertainment. But I'm going to live for you, God, and I get in this posture. And I say to him that I am done, and I give my life to you, God.
So this is a picture of how a lot of you are living right now. You want to move forward, but you feel captured by the decisions that you've made. And I want you to see his story. He's being real. He's being honest, y'all. He's owning some of the things he wrestles with. And I hope that encourages you to actually be honest about yours. Because here's the reality. As he chases money, it's never going to satisfy. But the truth is, as he chases God and the riches of living for God, God is going to help him find freedom from the want of money to find the true joy of giving himself away, freeing him from that bondage, allowing him to get up a little bit more. And as he comes to God, knowing that acceptance for others, he doesn't need it anymore because God accepts him. Jesus died for him, literally died to have him in his family. And so he doesn't need other people's acceptance because he has God's acceptance. The freedom, the joy that he experiences, God sets him free from needing others' approval. It's true freedom because it can't be taken away from him. As he thinks about comfort, and we all like comfort, right? We like ease, but the truth is our lives become pointless when we chase comfort. And so when God comes to him and shows him a life worth living, and yeah, it's uncomfortable sometimes, but he has the comfort of knowing his life counted, he starts to feel a joy, a strength that he didn't know was there, allowing him to move forward even more in his calling. And as he thinks about being entertained to death, literally, we are entertaining ourselves to death. Literally, many of you are on your phones right now because you can't take 20 minutes to just detach and see what God might want to say to you. And I'm here saying that because it's me too. It's Dixon too. But as we come to God saying, God, in your power, free me from this addiction that isn't bringing me joy. It's just distracting me. Help me keep it in check, God, so I can live a life that counts. God in his power brings freedom from what has held us down. And we're able to stand. And we're able to move forward in a new way. And so our prayer here tonight is that you would hear from us. You got a calling on your life. An incredible calling on your life. But to start stepping forward into that, you need to be honest enough to say, what is holding me back? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to sacrifice? What do I need to start crying out to God in his power to transform in me so that I can actually step up and live a life that matters forever? Well, I hope in your small groups you actually get real about it so you can move forward in your calling to change the world. Dixon is going to pray us out.
Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for